Allotropic forms of carbon. One thing that should be noted here is the term allotrop is always applicable to elements. We never say allotropic forms of compounds. It is always a term which is applicable to elements, and if we define allotropes, then they are the different forms of the same element. If an element occurs in different forms such that the forms have same chemical properties, obviously, because we are saying they are the different forms of the same element. Keeping the element same, the properties, chemical properties particularly, will remain same, but they have different physical properties. So allotropes are the different forms of the same element which have same chemical properties or identical chemical properties, but they have different physical properties. The difference in physical properties is basically due to the different arrangement of particles, or we can simply say due to different structures. And this property, this phenomenon, by the virtue of which an element exists in more than one form, is known as allotropy. So the property is allotropy, and the different forms are known as the allotropes of that particular element. Although allotropy is not confined just to carbon, there are other elements also which exhibit allotropy, like oxygen. Oxygen occurs as O2 as well as ozone O3. So we can easily understand the element remains the same, oxygen, but they are the different forms. Sulfur also exhibits allotropy. Sulfur exists as plastic sulfur, monoclinic sulfur, rhombic sulfur. And phosphorus also exhibits allotropy. It exists in the form of red phosphorus, white phosphorus. But as compared to these elements which exhibit allotropy, carbon has the maximum property. It has the maximum number of allotropes. Talking about the allotropic forms of carbon, allotropes of carbon can be divided into two types: crystalline and amorphous, or we can say non-crystalline. The term crystalline and amorphous basically differ in the fact that crystalline, they have definite geometry, they have definite shape, which we call the crystal lattice, and they have definite properties. This is because the particles are arranged in a definite manner. When we say non-crystalline or amorphous form, a form which does not have a definite geometry, because the particles are not arranged in a definite pattern. So these are general crystalline amorphous terms which are applied to types of solid. Like we can understand them with an example like sugar. The sugar is a crystalline solid. It has definite crystals. It has definite shape of particles. On the other hand, if we take, let's say, talcum powder, it is also a solid, but there are no crystals in it. There are no particles of definite geometry in it. So the earlier example, sugar, is a crystalline form. It is a crystalline solid, and amorphous example is like a talcum powder. So if you're talking about the different allotropic forms of carbon, they are also of two types, crystalline and amorphous. Crystalline, further, they are of three types, or we can say there are three crystalline allotropes of carbon: diamond, graphite, and fullerene. And amorphous: coal, charcoal, and lampblack. Here we are dealing with the crystalline allotropes of carbon. Majorly we'll study the crystalline allotropes, but I'll give you a slight idea about the amorphous forms also. Coal which is formed by carbonization of organic matter. It is formed by a natural process by the decomposition of plant matter under the earth. And whenever it is a fossil fuel, and whenever we expose or we make coal undergo destructive distillation, we get different products out of it. Like we get coal gas, coal tar, ammonical liquor, and coke. So these are four different products which are obtained on the destructive distillation of coal. Talking about charcoal, charcoal is basically formed by destructive distillation of a substance which contains carbon. For example, wood. When wood undergoes destructive distillation, it forms wood charcoal along with some other products like pyrolignis acid and wood tar. And apart from wood, even charcoal can be formed from sugar. Sugar undergoes destructive distillation to give sugar charcoal. Similarly, bones of animals. We are very well aware of the fact that our bones are made up of calcium, phosphorus, as well as there is a bit of carbon content. So when animal bone is it is destructive, it undergoes destructive distillation, then it forms bone charcoal, or it is also called animal charcoal. So basically there are three types of charcoal. Coming on to lamp black is also called soot, or it is also called carbon black, and we can easily make lamp black at our homes also. और ये हमने देखा भी है कि बहुत बार हम काजल बनाते हैं घर में. That is a form, that is lamp black only. And how we can prepare it is we can burn any compound or a mixture of carbon like kerosene or maybe some other oil, and this is covered with an inverted vessel. And because we are covering the flame with an inverted vessel, the oxygen supply will get limited. So after some time, the flame will be put off. It will stop burning. And if we remove the inverted vessel, we will see the base of the vessel has become black. So that black deposition will be of lamp black or soot or carbon black. So these are the amorphous forms of carbon. Now आप बहुत easily इस चीज को समझ सकते हो कि हमने क्यों amorphous form बोला. Because dry kajal, if we look at, then it is in the form of a powder. उसमें कोई crystals नहीं होते, उसमें कोई particular shape नहीं होती है particles की, वो powder form नजर आता है. तो जब भी कोई solid powder form में होता है तो सॉलिड, पर उसकी कोई शेप नहीं है, पार्टिकल्स की कोई डिफरेंट ज्योमेट्री नहीं है, तो हम बोलते हैं कि ये सॉलिड किस टाइप का है, अमॉर्फस फॉर्म का सॉलिड है. और अगर कोई सॉलिड जिसमें आप पार्टिकल्स फील कर सको, आप पार्टिकल्स एक पार्टिकल को डिस्टिंग्विशली देख सको कि यस इट हैज अ क्यूबिकल शेप और व्हाटएवर, तो वो सॉलिड होता है क्रिस्टलाइन सॉलिड. सो वी विल नाउ डिस्कस द क्रिस्टलाइन एलोट्रॉप्स ऑफ कार्बन, एंड वी विल स्टार्ट विद डायमंड, a very well known allotropic form of carbon, especially among the females, especially famous and loved by the females. Diamond is a beautiful crystalline allotrope of carbon, and because we are saying it's a form of carbon, definitely its symbol will be C. The name diamond has been taken from Greek words diaphanes and edemas. Diaphanes basically means transparent. Usually diamonds are transparent. And edemas means invincible, uncuttable. And this is in reference to its hardness. We know diamond is the natural hardest substance. So it is invincible. It is unconquerable in terms of its hardness. That is why edemas. Coming on to the structure of diamond. Because it's a crystalline form, if we consider a crystal of diamond, then in diamond each carbon atom is bonded to 4 other carbon atoms. Each carbon atom is bonded to 4 other carbon atoms by covalent bonds. All these bonds are covalent bonds. We've already studied covalent bonds, which are formed by equal sharing of electrons, mutual sharing of electrons. So all these 4 bonds are covalent bonds, and the carbon atoms are arranged in the form of a tetrahedron. So we say the structure of diamond is tetrahedral. This is very important. Structure of diamond is tetrahedral. Valency of each carbon atom is complete, because we know carbon is tetravalent, and in this form it is making 4 covalent bonds. So all the 4 valencies are satisfied, and there are no free electrons in diamond. Then this is the basic unit of diamond. It is not just only 4 carbon atoms will be present in diamond. This is the basic unit. It will keep continuing. Like all this, even this carbon, it is attached to 1 carbon below and it will be attached to 3 other carbons. Then each of them will be further attached to a total of 4 carbon atoms. This will be attached to a total of 4 carbon atoms. So in this way, this structure will keep on continuing, which is responsible for the hardness of diamond. And because of this very compact 3-dimensional structure, diamond is the hardest natural substance. Then if we talk about the bond length in diamond, this covalent bond, it is a single covalent bond, so the bond length will be 1.54 angstrom. And if you don't know, then let me tell you, 1 angstrom is equal to 10 raised power minus 10 meters. So the bond length in diamond is 1.54 angstrom. And if I talk about the shape of diamond, I hope you can understand the difference between structure and shape. Structure is basically the internal arrangement of constituent particles. Like constituent particles, here are atoms. तो कोई भी अगर आप सब्सटेंस लेते हो, उसके अंदर जो कंस्टिट्यूएंट पार्टिकल्स होते हैं वो किस तरीके से अरेंज्ड हैं. जैसे मैंने अभी आपको डायमंड में बताया कि एक कार्बन एटम 4 अदर कार्बन एटम से अटैच्ड होता है, विच आर अरेंज्ड इन द फॉर्म ऑफ अ टेट्राहेड्रन. तो इस तरीके से सारे कार्बन एटम्स अरेंज्ड होंगे तो हम बोलेंगे डायमंड का स्ट्रक्चर क्या है, टेट्राहेड्रल. बट आप एटम्स तो नहीं देख सकते. आपको क्या दिखेगा, आपको पूरा सब्सटेंस एज इट इज दिखेगा, एक्सटर्नल अपीयरेंस दिखेगा उसको, उसके अंदर एटम्स का अरेंजमेंट हम कभी नेकेड आई से नहीं देख सकते. तो जो भी एक्सटर्नल अपीयरेंस होता है सब्सटेंस का, उसको हम कहते हैं द शेप ऑफ दैट सब्सटेंस. तो अगर आपको डायमंड दिया जाए तो उसकी जो शेप होती है, क्रिस्टल की जो शेप होती है, वो होती है ऑक्टाहेड्रल. So these 2 points are very important to note down, that the structure is tetrahedral but the shape of diamond is what? It is octahedral. Now we come to the properties of diamond. I hope the structure is clear. We can now discuss the properties of diamond. Diamond is a crystalline solid. So its physical state is solid, and that too a crystalline type. It is transparent. Usually it is transparent, although we are well aware of colored diamonds. There are diamonds which are of different colors, and colored diamonds are known as gems. Now this color of diamond is basically due to the impurities or due to lattice defects. Lattice defect is a topic which will be dealt in at a bit higher level. Right now what we can understand is the presence of impurities due to which color may be imparted to diamond. For example, if the impurity is of boron, then the color of diamond becomes blue, and if the impurity is of nitrogen, these are 2 most common impurities, then the color becomes yellow. So due to the presence of some other atoms in the structure of diamond, a color may be imparted to diamond. Next property, diamond is hardest natural substance. Diamond is hardest natural substance, and the hardness of a substance can be the substance hardness can be measured on Mohs scale, which is a scale rated from 1 to 10. Maximum hardness is of diamond, it is kept on the 10th point, the last point. So on Mohs scale, diamond is on the 10th number, and it is the hardest natural substance. All diamonds are not equally hard. The hardness depends basically on purity, crystalline perfection, and that is why we say, मतलब बहुत common एक statement होता है कि diamond को diamond से cut किया जाता है. Diamond is cut by another diamond. This is because all diamonds are not equally hard, and their hardness will be decided by a number of factors. One of them being their purity, and the other being the crystalline perfection, how perfect the crystals are. Although there are some synthetic substances, there are some artificial substances which can cut diamond, like boron nitride. It can easily cut diamond. So, but if you talk about the natural substances, diamond is the most hardest. Then coming on to the next property, that is refractive index. Refractive index of diamond is 2.45, and that is the reason why it sparkles very brightly, it shines, and because it reflects most of the light, it has a high refractive index, so it can be easily used as a ornamental gem, jewel, and it can be easily polished. Then it is a bad conductor of electricity. And why is it a bad conductor of electricity? Because there are no free electrons in it. I've already mentioned in the structure, all the properties of carbon are satisfied with other carbon atoms and there are no free electrons in it. That is why it is a bad conductor of electricity. These were the physical properties of diamond. If you talk about the chemical properties of diamond, then diamond is chemically, it is not reactive, not very reactive I should say, and it is only at higher temperatures or under strong conditions that diamond undergoes a chemical reaction. Diamonds are not attacked by acids, alkalis and solvents like water, ether, benzene or carbon tetrachloride. But diamond is attacked by fluorine when it is heated to 750 degrees Celsius. And as a result of the reaction, carbon tetrafluoride is formed. So one of the chemical property that we can study is reaction of diamond with fluorine at a temperature of 750 degree Celsius. It forms CF4, that is carbon tetrafluoride. Coming on to the uses of diamond. Without fail, obviously, the first, the foremost, the most important use of diamond is its ability to be used as a gem in jewelry. So first is the ornamental use, and the reason behind this is it reflects light, it shines very brightly. That is why it can be used as a gem. Then some industrial uses, like because of its hardness, it can be used for cutting, drilling, and a saw fitted with diamond is used for sawing marbles. A chipped diamond is used for glass cutting, and black diamonds basically are used in making drill, because black diamonds are extremely hard. Black diamonds are called carbonado and they're extremely hard. That is why they're used for drilling purposes. Apart from these uses, diamonds are used to make high precision thermometers. High precision thermometers, and they are even used in the form of surgical knives. Sharp edged diamonds with very thin and fine breadth are used as a tool by eye surgeons to remove cataract from eyes. So they can be used during surgeries as a surgical knife. And again, because of the hardness of diamond, diamonds are used to make protective windows for space probes, because they can keep out the harmful radiations, they can cut out the harmful radiations. That is why they are used for this purpose. So these were the properties of diamond, and I would like to share some important points about diamond. Apart from the structure, the properties and the uses of diamond, some points can be noted down, like I've already told you about the impurities of present in diamond which are responsible for the color of diamond. Then Lavoisier, all of us are well known, we very well know about Lavoisier. Lavoisier used a lens to concentrate the rays of sun on diamond, and in an atmosphere of oxygen. So he used a lens, he concentrated the rays of sun on diamond. So in a way he was heating diamond, he was keeping diamond at high temperatures, and this was done in an atmosphere of oxygen. As a result of the reaction between diamond and oxygen, CO2 was produced, and this showed that diamond is a form of carbon. So for the very first time, the fact that diamond is actually carbon was proved by Lavoisier by the reaction carbon. He took diamond, and what he did was, in an atmosphere of oxygen, he concentrated sun's rays. So he heated diamond. This reaction was carried out at high temperatures. The only product that was formed as a result of reaction was CO2. No other product was formed. And so he concluded that diamond is made up of carbon. It is a form of carbon. Then because we are using diamond to make high precision thermometers, we can say it is a good conductor of heat. And in fact, diamond has the highest thermal conductivity. So that is the reason we can make high precision thermometers out of it, to measure even very small changes in temperature.